Hello everyone and welcome. So today's video is inspired by a little known TV show that you may have heard of called Fallout. After binge watching the entire series, I felt compelled to step away from the Tudor era and move a few hundred years forward in time. If you've been watching my channel for a while, you know I'm really interested in lore, backstory and character motivation. So in true Lauren Makes Videos fashion, I'm going to explore the narrative of the TV series Fallout, not the game, and use that narrative to help me build a Fallout-inspired dungeon. Now this video will contain spoilers if you haven't watched the show, so proceed with caution. With all that out the way, let's begin. So Fallout is a post-nuclear war, post-apocalyptic, and I suppose post-truth world. For simplicity, let's say the two main groups are Vault people and surface dwellers. Vault people are descendants of folks who are lucky, or not so lucky, more on this later, to find refuge in underground vaults while the world literally burned. Surface dwellers are people not in vaults and are descendants of those left to survive on the Earth's surface after the nuclear bombs were detonated. Of course, there are also factions within these groups too. Vault-Tec are the corporation that built the vaults. They're a huge organisation that will profit from nuclear war by selling vaults to more privileged folk, who can, say, wait out a nuclear winter from the comfort of a luxurious underground shelter. However, we later find out that Vault-Tec wasn't just in the business of apocalyptic real estate, but they also had a stake in medical and psychological research. And I use those terms very loosely. Now, if you think about it, vaults are highly controllable environments, which makes them perfect for experiments. One vault can be an experimental or treatment group, and another can be the control. But of course, Vault-Tec would not abuse their power and run experiments in the vaults without informed consent. Of course they would. And as the show goes on, we later find out that some poor souls were participants in some pretty brutal experiments. But why did Vault-Tec want to run these experiments? What do they have to gain? Why can't they just sell these vaults to rich individuals and be done with it? What is it? Wait for it. Their motivation. As Fallout progresses, we do find out that Vaults 31, 32 and 33 were socio-biological experiments, with the goal of repopulating Earth with people with particular personality traits, while Vault 4 had the goal of creating humans who are resistant to radiation. However, I think the answer to the question of what motivates Vault-Tec is simple, and it's control or complete destruction of the competition. Vault-Tec want to win the great game of capitalism, as senior exec Bud puts it. Now this is my take on this, but to me the first step in achieving this is of course market share, to sell as many vaults as possible. The step after this is to reach out to corporations who want to use them in experiments, the results of which Vault-Tec could use for their own gain. However, another interpretation could be that the potential for experiments was always a main driving force for the initial funding, and shelter for rich folk was always secondary. This is also a much more sinister take, as we know that the government outsourced nuclear war survival civilization rebuilding to Vault-Tec. So was the government complicit in these experiments too? So yeah, let me know what you think in the comments. The goal of the experiments in Vaults 31-32 is to produce a population shaped in Vault-Tec's image, which is a win-win for Vault-Tec if you think about it, as I presume outsiders in this vault were originally rich folk who invested for shelter. So not only did Vault-Tec make a ton of money, they also used it as an opportunity to ensure the survival of Vault-Tec for hundreds, if not thousands of years to come. This experiment was a brainchild of senior Vault-Tec exec Bud, and he aptly called it Bud's Buds. The Buds being Vault-Tec execs who were put on ice to later be defrosted, after which they joined Vaults 32 and 33 to create families and pass on the values that Vault-Tec deemed important to its survival. After all, post-nuclear war, all Vault-Tec need to do is outlive their competition, and as Bud says, time is the ultimate weapon to destroy your competition. So back to the dungeon. To keep this true or truer to the Fallout TV show, I'm going to follow some of the plot points in the TV series. This means my Dungeons & Dragons game will be based in Vaults 31, 32 and 33. I will follow the same story in that these vaults were social experiments to develop a population who could be controlled by Vault-Tec. In Vault 31 I'm going to mix it up a bit. So in the Fallout TV series, this is where all the junior execs of Vault-Tec employees are kept on ice. As time goes on, Bud, now a brain and a robot vacuum cleaner, defrost an employee who can propagate their ideas and values into Vaults 32 and 33. However, I want to include something else in this vault, such as a hidden piece of proprietary Vault-Tec technology. This technology, like the TV series, provides an unlimited supply of energy which can power cities and get civilization back up and running on the Earth's surface. So where did this technology come from, and who developed it? So because this is Dungeons & Dragons, I want the source of energy to be magical and draconic in origin. Perhaps it's guarded by a couple of half-bred dragon veterans that unfortunately, like many others, have been mutated by radiation after being experimented on. Perhaps our players have been tasked with retrieving this mysterious technology and need to get to Vault 31, and the only way to get into Vault 31 is through the Vault Gate, which is obviously secured with a passkey. For security reasons, half of this passkey is in Vault 32 and the other half is in Vault 33. The passkey could be written on a scroll, which the players speak aloud into an intercom. So if you follow the TV series lore, Vault 32 suffered a violent breakdown. They somehow found out about the experiment Buds and killed each other. Because of this, I think this dungeon or vault should have a bit of an undead flavour. Maybe there are a bunch of crawling claws lurking underneath broken sofas and shattered windows. Perhaps the sole survivor of this vault is a wizard, who when left surrounded by so much death, began to dabble in necromantic magic, and unsuccessfully tried to resurrect his fallen shelter residents. The wizard has half the passkey on a scroll, but perhaps he wants something from the players before he hands it over. Maybe there is something or someone the wizard wants in Vault 33. But if they can't retrieve what he wants, they need to defeat him to get the scroll. In addition to the wizard, I've also added some nasty necromantic traps, such as defiled ground, from Jarlaxle's traps. Plus there is a little poltergeist kicking around too. Vault 33 is the most intact vault, or so it seems, and this is where our main protagonist in the TV show, Lucy McLean, is from. So I'm thinking this is a vault the players trade with every few years or so, and trade is a ruse they use to gain entry into the vault complex. However, not always as it seems. I'm thinking this vault has a secret. Perhaps it's unknowingly sheltering a senior Vault Tech executive. Maybe this exec is also the overseer, and this is the person the wizard from Vault 32 wants, so he can exact his revenge. But another challenge the players face is getting hold of the other half of the passkey. Who in Vault 33 would know where the scroll is, let alone be in a position to access it? I'd quite like this dungeon to involve more roleplay than combat, and the GM can decide to reward the players' creativity in who they approach and the conversations they engage in. Perhaps the passkey's in a nursery rhyme the folk in Vault 33 sing, and an unknowing resident reveals this to the party in conversation without realising what they're doing. I think Vault 33 is also a good place for players to restock and heal, as it is a well-resourced vault with plenty of food and healing potions. Now in terms of guiding the players through the vaults, ideally I start with Vault 32 and have the encounter with the necromantic wizard first. This vault is open and is visible from the trade entrance. Now the GM can reason that because the players only visit every few years or so to trade, the opening of Vault 32 may have gone unnoticed by 33 for many years. So to get into Vault 33, the players could use the destruction of Vault 32 as a ruse by raising the alarm, or they could pretend nothing has happened and close Vault 32's door and just say they're there to trade. However, sounding the alarm could be a good way to get the overseer of Vault 33 into Vault 32 so the wizard can exact his revenge. Once the players have obtained both halves of the passkey, they need to speak it into the vault's intercom system. Then once the door opens, they are confronted by Bud's brain on what looks like to be a robot vacuum. Here he tries to play down the idea of secret technology hidden within this vault. He comes clean about Bud's experiments, but just as he finishes, alarms begin to sound and the vault starts to seal itself. Here the players have two options. They can run out before the vault seals, or they can try the second vault door towards the back of the room they are in. Now I'm thinking of making this a puzzle-based challenge to ensure the game has several different elements. So let's say the players solve the puzzle and they enter Vault 31B. They can see a guard drake patrolling around a glass box encasing a glowing blue vial. But before they have time to collect themselves, they're confronted by a half-red dragon veteran, or two, who they have to defeat to get access to the vial. Near the vial there's an eye crawler observing everything. They can escape with the vial in either escape pod. I may put a self-destruct time limit on the room to add a bit of urgency. Of course the vial would not be in the room when it blows up. The box it sits in is retracted into a false floor and mysteriously disappears. We don't know much about who has recruited the players, and at the end of the game it is up to the GM to reveal if this was all an elaborate plan from Vault Tech to test the security of their vaults. Perhaps if the players fail the task of retrieving the vial, this could be a good ending. But if they're successful, the GM could progress this game on to delivering the vial to the right people. Of course you could also run this as a type of faster purple worm kill 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 campaign, and put level 1 characters in just to see how long they last. Right, that's all for today folks, and I'll see you in the next one.